Welcome to Tech Simplified, and my name is Sly Gittins, and I'm continuing the Woman in Tech series. And if you're listening to this, thank you for tuning in and listening to another episode. I have the honor of talking to Angelica Faber. She's a Microsoft security architect who specializes in identity, but she got so much more to give you information. But without stealing your thunder, Angelica, can you please give a little bit of background about yourself and how you got into IT, and just share your story.
Sounds good. Hey, Sly, thank you so much. And thank you for having me. So it's really an honor for me to be talking to you about this. So as you said, I am a security architect. I have been in security for longer than I care to admit, definitely longer than a decade. I've been doing identity for the longest time. I grew up at Oracle, as they say. I spent 20 years there, and I did from support to DBA. And then when the merger with Sun happened, I started focusing on identity, and I did manage security services for a very long time. And and through life, I ended up at Microsoft, which doing security architecture. I've been spending, even though identity is still my sweet spot, I've been doing a lot of SIEM, Sentinel, and hybrid cloud security as well with Defender for Cloud. I really, really liked a lot of these services. So it's actually fun for me to learn and then to share it with the partners. And it's been quite a ride.
Wow, that's a lot. One thing before we go forward, you said SIEM, and I know sometimes a few people who watch this are fresh out of school, might be transitioning into security. So what does that stand for?
So SIEM stands for Security Information and Event Management. And anyone that works with a Security Operations Center or a SOC, that is sometimes referred to, has to use some kind of SIEM. With Microsoft, we use Microsoft Sentinel, which is a very powerful. It's not just a SIEM; it's actually also a SOAR, which means there is automation associated with it. So SOAR stands for Security Orchestration, Automation, and Response. So that's recently that has been the majority of the work that I have done, and it's really based on the huge amount of demand that we see for those services.
Okay, that's great. I guess let's bring it back a little bit. So what was your educational path, and how did you get interested in the field of security?
Yeah, so I actually went to college for business. I actually have a degree in accounting, which is very odd. And I graduated, and I started working. I worked very little as an accountant, but then I started playing with software, and I was still already playing with software while I was still going to college, but I didn't change my major. So once I started working, I joined Oracle, and then I went back to school at night, because by then I was married, I had a kid. So I had to go to school at night to get additional education to be able to make the official switch. And I became, the first certification that I got was a database administrator, which is still around, is Oracle OCP, which is Oracle Certified Professional. And I loved it. And I really enjoyed it. I think I enjoy learning, constant learning, and I enjoy troubleshooting. That's, okay. I could spend hours troubleshooting, no problem. So I like reading, but also being able to I guess put into play what I read about. So like create labs and find out exactly how these things that are being described in the documentation work exactly. So that's a lot of, I think, what drives me still today. Has driven me all across for the many years, because I did a lot of work in various different areas, including middleware. We did a lot of cloud migrations from cloud, just from on-prem or data centers to the cloud. And I've done, because it's been for forever, many years in the industry, I've done quite a bit. The majority of my recent experience has been, though, in security services.
So first of all, let me say thank you for sharing that. And I think that's really going to help our audience is to, if you have the passion already about reading and then getting hands-on or labbing, like we like to call it in tech, this might be an area to get into security, maybe getting into cloud or just getting into the tech feed in general. Because one thing that I found that was pretty helpful for me is sometimes you don't know if you know something, so you want to test it out to see if it worked. So it's instant gratification. It's almost like social media. I can post a post on social media and I instantly see if people like it or not. And that's a gift and a curse. The same thing with tech. You can read something, try it out, and then see if it works. If it works, that means you know how to do it, right? And you can move on to the next thing. And also what I like about technology is so many free resources of people who love to learn and they love to teach. So you can learn. And there's so many tools that you can use to really get going. And then the last thing I love about it, it's free. It's on YouTube. So many things you can just YouTube it and learn it. Right. And or just ask questions on Twitter or LinkedIn or reach out to ourselves on there. So if you already do that already, I think security tech is going to be for you. So my next thing is now that we talked about kind of your educational path, is what would you told yourself earlier in your career?
I would tell myself to just follow my gut, because I think in security or even in tech in general, you can have different jobs and you can move and try different areas. But if you're passionate about what you're doing, it's gonna be so much easier. Your day is gonna go by so much faster. And I think by following my gut, I've been able to make the best decisions, and it has taken me to where I am today, and I'm very happy. So that would, I wouldn't change anything other than, just make sure that you listen to your own gut.
I think that's really good instincts. And I would just add on that is don't be afraid to try. What I try to do now, especially in my career, is what is the worst thing going to happen if I try to do this?
Yeah.
Right. And if I can live with the consequences, or I can find a way to solve the pain that I'm going to feel when I try to do it, I just try it and see if it works. I'll give you a great example. I left a comfortable job that I really liked as a senior technical product marketing manager for RSA. And then I went to a startup and I tried and became a director of product marketing. Only last 6 months. It wasn't the right role, wasn't the right skills. It's a great team, a great organization, but it wasn't right for me. And it took me a while to realize that it's okay that I climbed the wrong ladder. It wasn't the right skills I wanted to use. So I ended up finding another job that I loved. And then I ended up getting to Microsoft here. And now I'm even happier than I was at the other job because I'm doing something that I really love. So I trust my gut, right, for me. And you just got to kind of just do that from time to time, because sometimes if you try to plan, because I plan in advance person, you don't make enough moves. But if I would have tried it, I would have found out if I liked it. So I could get that input and feedback a little bit faster. So sometimes just try it. Go for it. Take a job that is different, because the one thing I found is even though I took that job, I learned so much in that 6 months period. So when I came back to the other job that I had, I was more valuable because I went back to a company that I was before, but they loved the experience that I brought with me back. They call it boomerangs, right? And they paid me more, right? So even though I thought I failed, I actually didn't fail because I made more as an individual contributor in the job that I actually wanted to do, right? So for me, it was trusting that gut and just learning. And I learned a lot for what I didn't want. And in life, that's a really big, I guess, something that we take for granted is learning from things that we don't like, because now we know where not to spend our time and what's our areas of frustration. So I'm glad that you shared that. And you talked briefly about passion. Yeah. What's your passion?
I think my passion is challenging. Anything that is challenging to me, it's gonna drive me. Anything I'm curious about, and anything that is that it's gonna you take my brain to spend some time on it and to learn about it, that's gonna be, and typically, like for example, I was doing identity for the longest time, but in the last few years, I started getting into SIEMs, which we were talking about previously, is a service that any kind of security operations center is gonna be needing to use. And so I started learning, and I drove myself right into the testing, and because that's really the best way to do it, right? You read about it, and then you go and you test it, and then you learn everything that you didn't know before, so that you can go and learn that. But that challenge of being able to achieve something, to be able to see even the challenge of helping partners figure something out, figuring out an architecture, how something's going to work best. I love that. That's what drives me, and really what makes my job enjoyable, really.
Yep. And I can tell that you are passionate about security and the things you do, because didn't you create, I think it's angelicafaber.com, like it's your personal blog. Did I butcher the link? Like, what's the link?
It's myfavorsecurity.com.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's a blog that I created initially to share a little bit about everything that I have learned about in security. It does tend to still spend a lot of time in identity, because that's my sweet spot. But I have been adding blogs about Sentinel, especially, and about Defender for Cloud, which are two of my other favorite services. And I try to make everything simple, so that anyone with any kind of level of knowledge can just jump right in and follow along. Because I want to make sure that this is all available to everyone, and it might be a subject that you can dive deep into, but it might also be a subject that you could just read about, just to know enough about it, or to know, about a feature that it's available within a specific service. So I try to include little videos of how the features are in action, and pictures, as many as possible, because I think that makes things clearer to understand. And I try to focus also on questions. I get a lot of, when we do webinars on specific subject, I get a lot of questions from partners, and sometimes it's the same question. So some of the subjects that I cover on the blogs are guided to answer those very common questions that we get from partners. So it's good for me, because I learn in the process of creating the blog, but it's also good for others, to use that information.
And you have to be passionate, because you're doing this after hours, right? And sometimes on weekends.
That's right. Sometimes I stay up till 10 o'clock at night to make sure that something is working, but it's not because I have to, because, but it's more like, I have to figure this out, I have to figure out something. And that tells you how, the drive, that you're enjoying what you're doing, because you just can't rest until you see this, figure this something out. So I do it sometimes after hours, sometimes I do it on weekends, but it's something that I enjoy. So I'm probably going to continue to do it.
And I think that's essential, right? So if you're out there on the fence, right, if you start getting into the zone, that means this is for you. If you're just tweaking on computers, and when I say tweaking, fixing them, trying to reassemble them, trying to see how they work, or if you got a phone and you're jailbreaking and you putting apps on there, or you're the person that people go to for tech questions, you might want to consider this field, right? Because those same curiosities, not willing to learn and teach yourself, it can be something as simple as trying to get your Amazon Fire Stick to get free movies on there, right? To learn that, most people can't do it. So if you're doing those little things, this might be an area to get into in the security in the cloud, because I can tell you one thing, it pays very well, and it will keep you continuously learning. So even to do this podcast, we're shooting this on a Saturday. This is our free time. We both got families, right? Mine's a younger family, your children a little bit older, right? But we got other things we could be doing, but we're passionate about advocating to get more women in tech and get more people in tech in general, because not only the one thing I love about is being the ally or advocate for women in tech, right? So my job is to share more things like this, but this takes time, because and then after this call, I got to edit it. I got to send it over to the personal assistant. I got to make sure I word it correctly, the right graphics in there. And then I still got to do some tech videos, right? For my personal blog, it took like 4 or 5 days of me building the website, uploading the content, making sure it was right. But I did it because it was fun. It was passionate. It wasn't work, right? Some people tell me stop working, and I'm like, but I'm not. I'm just having fun. Because for fun, my whole house is a smart house. Like, I can't help doing it. Like, I spend hours looking up the right Wi-Fi network, right? I call friends to consult, right? But those are the things I just like to do, and I can't stop doing it. So if you got any type of those feelings, or if you just have a feeling that you think you may want to do it, scratch that curiosity. Try to do it, because you might turn out, I found people who aren't technical who end up becoming more technical than I am, right? Because they just had that itch. They had those skills. They had transferable skills. So I'm glad that you shared that. And I'm going to make sure to put your link to your website on there. And I'm going to do even one better. I'm going to add my website on there as well, and add free content, and add your a link to your page on my website, because not only do I share things about certifications, then I'm going to share things about product information and training where you can help out as well. So thank you for sharing that. So when I get the chance to get brilliant ladies like yourself on there, I want to know how you learn. So what some things are you using to learn and educate? Because it's really big in this field to continually learning, because after, like we like to say, a week or two, you could be obsolete because something new came out. And if you don't know about it, right, that could be problematic, right? So what are you doing to learn? What tools are you using?
Yeah, and I think that's a huge area that is a big difference nowadays, that there is so much information, really. There's a lot of resources, but you got to know about them. I find that in YouTube, we have a few channels. Microsoft Security channel has great information. They have at least 1 or 2 videos per week, and sometimes they go deep in a subject, and sometimes they go just an overview of a service. I love those videos because if I want to learn a specific subject, that's a great way to learn, and to learn it directly from the people that are making the product sometimes. And we also have, if you're interested in certifications, which I have a few of them, and I find that I actually learn a lot in the process of getting certified too. We have the Microsoft Learn site. It's very, very useful. I highly recommend that. My personal experience is I have to support also my hybrid cloud security. So I've had to learn about AWS and GCP. So for that, I used a Cloud Guru, which I know is a paid service, but they do have a system where every month they have a few trainings that are provided for free. So if you can't afford it, do the free ones, get started that way, and then you'll see whatever piques your interest, and you can dive into that later on. And then I also try to link as many useful sites as I can in my blogs. Like if it's a specific subject that I'm covering, I'll try to link that as well, so that people can go and find out more about it, and go learn more about that specific project. Yeah.
Well, that's great. And something just to add on that, Pluralsight bought a Cloud Guru. So if you're a Pluralsight user, I know they do an integrating. So assume that content is going to be all within Pluralsight. So you're going to even have more content you can use. And you're right, they always do like free weeks or free like months of training. So go in there, learn as much as you can, or maybe pay for 1 month, right? Because it's only like $30 for 1 month if you could do that. And if not, Microsoft Learn is a really wonderful place just to get started. It's a little bit more text-based. So this all depends on how you learn. If you love reading, then you might want to use Microsoft Learn. If you love more video content, you might want to use Pluralsight and YouTube, right? So those are some areas that you can leverage. And I'll make sure to put those in the show notes so that you have it, so you can keep learning. So I don't want this interview to end, but I have to. So before I do, how can the audience contact you?
I think the best way is LinkedIn. I even have it linked on my website too, to my profile, personal profile. Yeah, and reach out. If there's anything that I can do, any information that I can provide to help you on your career or your curiosity about our career, reach out. I'm always looking out to meet new people, especially anyone that is interested in this, especially in security, because we definitely need more help in security. So please reach out. Yeah.
That's awesome. So that's going to be it from the incredible, phenomenal Angelica Faber and Sly Gittens. Until next time, we are out. Peace.